Hi, I'm Anita from Needles and Hooks, and this is a tutorial on how to make the Twisted Stitches Shawl. It's a knitted pattern, and it's an easy repeat. I made it out of DK weight yarn, which is size 3, Paint Box DK in the colorway PBX23. This is the yarn label for it. It is a 100-gram ball that has 360 meters and 393 yards in it. I only had the one, so it didn't come out as long as I would have liked. And I did not have anything comparable to it in my stash. So I just knit until I couldn't do any more. I did 226 rows before binding off because I only had so much yarn left at the end, and you need to have enough yarn to actually finish binding off with. So having more to bind off with is better than not having enough. So I used a size 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter knitting needle. I used, it was a 29-inch, size 7, 29-inch circular knitting needles. Now you can use whatever yarn or anything that you would like, needles, whichever. I just used a size 7. The actual yarn that I used required a 4 millimeter needle, which is a US size 6. So I went up to a size 7 because it's a little more drapier, a little more flowy. And I can tell I still don't know how to wear it. If I had a decorative pin or a button, a brooch, one of those things to hold it in place, I would have put it on here. So let me show you what it actually looks like up close and personal. This is what we're going to be creating today. Now you can do it as long as you want. If you're going to follow me and use the Paint Box DK, I did, like I said, 226 rows before binding off. This is an easy 4-row repeat. We just have to get through the first 8 rows, and then rows 9 through 12 will be your repeat pattern. So let's get to it. Okay, in order to get started with this project, you're going to need to have a pair of knitting needles. I've chosen a very well-used pair of size 8 knitting needles and some size 4 worsted weight yarn for this demonstration. You will use the needles and the yarn that you would like to. This is just going to show for the tutorial. You will learn how to knit into the front and back of a stitch in order to increase your stitches across one side. You will also learn how to do the twisted drop stitch. It's really simple, straightforward, and easy. And after row 9, it ends up being a 4-row repeat. You're going to repeat rows 9 through 12. So let's get started. We're going to first make our slip knot, however you like to do it. I'm going to place it on my needle. Row 1 is cast on 1 stitch. So look, your slip stitch counts as your first stitch. So you've already got it on there. Row 1, you're going to knit into the front and back of this stitch. Hold my tail out of the way. I'm going to wrap my yarn around like normal to knit. I'm going to pull it through. But then you're going to take your needle and go to the back of this side into the back of the stitch, like so. Wrap your yarn around, pull it through, and take it off. And what was 1 stitch is now 2. We're going to turn our work. Row 2, we're going to knit even. So we're just going to knit across these 2 stitches. Make sure you're not knitting with your tail. 1, 2. Row 3, you're going to knit 1 in the first stitch and knit into the front and back of the second one. So we're going to knit 1, take it off, and knit into the front and back of this last stitch, round, pull it through, but don't take it off. Take this needle, wrap it around the back. It's easy if you just turn your work towards you, the back towards you, so you can see what you're doing. Wrap your yarn around, pull it through, and take it off, and now you have 3 stitches. Row 4 is the twisted drop stitch. which is really simple. You're going to insert your needle into the first stitch. You're going to wrap your yarn around both needles. So you're going to take it from the back, wrap it over the top of this needle right here, and take it back around the bottom needle right here. Pull it through, take it off. We're going to do that again. Insert your needle into the next stitch, wrap around both needles, then wrap around the right hand needle, pull it through, take it off. And one more time, insert your needle into the next stitch, wrap around both needles, wrap around the right hand needle, pull it through, and take it off. And that's row 4. And we're going to turn our work. Now the twisted drop stitch row is really, really loose, so you want to be careful not to slip your stitches off this needle and dropping them, because then that would be sad and you might have to start over again, and we don't want to do that. So row 5, we're going to knit to the last, next to the last stitch. We're going to knit 1, knit into the front and back, and then knit 1 on the 3rd stitch. So let's do that. Knit 1, knit into the front and back, and then knit 1, and then turn. Row 6, we're going to knit across these 4 stitches. You're going to knit even. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to turn our work. We're going to knit across to the last 2 stitches. We're going to knit into the front and back, and then knit 1. So we're going to knit the first 2. 1, 2. I'm going to knit into the front and back, and then knit 1. I'm going to turn our work, and we're going to do the twisted drop stitches again across these 5 stitches. Insert your needle into the first stitch, wrap around both needles, wrap around the right hand needle, pull through, take it off. And again, around both, around the right, pull through, and off. Now we start row 9, which is the first row of our actual 4-row repeat. We're going to knit across to the last 2 stitches, knit in the front and back, and knit 1. So we're going to go across 3, increase, knit 1. 1, 2, 3, knit into the front and back, knit 1. Row 10, knit across evenly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Turn our work, knit to the last 2 stitches, increase, knit in the front and back, and then knit 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, knit into the front and back, and knit 1. I'm I'm going to turn our work. I'm going to do the twisted drop stitches across all the stitches. Pull it through, take it off. To the next stitch, around both, around one, pull it through, take it off. And same thing with the last stitch, around two, around one, take it off. And you can see we're building it. And you could tell, almost tell, like what the twisted drop stitches are actually doing. If I can get a hold of it here. They're leaving like a little eyelet area, somewhat. It's just basically like an extended stitch. We're going to do 2 more rows. We're going to go across, knit in the front and back, and then knit 1. And then the following row we'll knit even, and then we'll turn it and we'll bind off. You don't want to end this wrap on a twisted drop stitch row because you don't really want to be binding off the twisted drop stitches because see how loose they are? You want to do it on a knit row. And it doesn't matter which knit row that you do it on, you just won't do an increase. So we're going to go knit across to the last 2 stitches. We're going to knit into the front and back. And knit 1. Turn our work. We're going to knit evenly across and then we'll bind off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And we're going to turn and then we're going to bind off. As you can see, before we do the bind off, you can see one side is completely straight, the other side is where your increases are. And I prefer to do increases on the next to the last stitch rather than on the end stitch because it makes kind of a bump. I mean, it's got a little bump to it, but when you do it on the last one, it's a little more pronounced. That's why I do it on the next to the last stitch. Let's go ahead and bind off. I'm going to knit the first 2 stitches. You're going to bind off loosely. I'm going to knit 2. Take your left hand needle, insert it into this first stitch right here. Trying your best to hold on to the second stitch with your right hand needle. I know it's kind of hard to see, but it's right there. You're going to pull it over and take it off. That's 1 bound off stitch. Now we're going to knit the next stitch and do the same thing. Insert our left hand needle into the front of the first stitch, pull it over, catching the unworked stitch with your right hand needle and off. And again, you're going to knit 1, pull it over and off. Knit 1 more, pull it over, take it off. 2, 3 more times, take it over and off. Knit, take it over and off. And the last stitch, and knit, take it over and off. And you have all of your stitches bound off. And you would just cut your yarn and fasten it off by, I don't have my scissors with me, so let's just say I cut my yarn. I'll pull it through here and cinch it down, and then that'll be done. So you can see, you bring it closer, you've got your twisted drop stitches, which are right here. You've got a straight side and your increased side. And that's all you need to learn on how to do this. It's a quick and easy 4-row repeat. Rows 9 through 12, finish with 2 or 3 knit rows. You'll have an increase row, but you'll bind off on an even side row. And that's the end of the tutorial. And that's it. Now you have a shawl you can wear asymmetrically, hopefully better than I can. You can do a ton of different variations on this same theme. You don't have to increase every other row. You can increase once every 4 rows to make it a lot longer than it is wider, which I might do one myself in that. I do have some yarn somewhere, like a thin 3-weight yarn I could do with that. You don't even have to use garter stitch. You can use whatever stitch you like. You just need to make sure about your stitch multiples. It's just, I did the garter stitch in between because it lays flat and I don't have to think about it. It's autopilot. And there we go. I would like to see your finished object, so if you would be so kind to join the Discord, a link is in the description below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.